re-examine whether we can have this beautiful art project and preserve the trees and the cradle country music. And we took the opportunity to meet with our friends at the Community Design Center and with Lisa Zenny of the Arts and Cultural Alliance and Casey Krause, our urban forester. And we do have a solution, and we have found a way to preserve the trees and have the art that is going to be such make this place, which is already special, and reimagine it and have it be a new place for gatherings and performances with an incredible art project, but also keeping all the trees except one. So we're going to keep all these beautiful mature trees, enjoy the shade that we're in right now, and plant at least 14 additional new trees in and around this area. So we're going to add green space, add trees, and have a beautiful piece of public art that's going to reactivate this part of our downtown area. So I want to thank um, the members of the Arts Committee, and I'm going to share this update with them later today, and also obviously share this news with City Council members. I want to thank all the community members who brought this to our attention. It's obviously this is a project that I think initially started in 2013, and then was finally approved and budgeted in 2018 before I took office, and then through COVID and supply chain issues and whatnot, it's just now becoming implemented. So we're really proud of the process that happened. We want to honor all the artists and volunteers who made the Public Arts Committee go through this process and get the input from the community, and really think it's going to be a spectacular piece of art. And now we can also say that it's going to preserve the trees here and make this park green, clean, and beautiful.
Have any questions?
Yes, for the record, the $500,000 I guess exhibit has already been purchased, correct?
Correct.
Or the piece has been
Yes,
purchased.
the art has been purchased. It's I think it's already been fabricated, and now we're working on installing. And so you have to have the base to install it. And so this, you know, you're okay with the upgrade.
Yeah,
That's why we moved to e-vehicles, the quieter, climate. Um, but it's my understanding that the art has already been fabricated and waiting on the base.
That's correct.
So the artist has been fabricated. The winning artist has, the pandemic and whatnot did slow things down. But now we are in the process of planning for installation, and you have to create the base. And one way that we're able to create the base without removing all the trees except for one is, having fewer sidewalks put in. So when you have to have a sidewalk, you have to level it out, and it has to be a certain amount of square footage, and it has to be perfectly flat and meet ADA standards. And so we're eliminating some of the sidewalks, which means the tree roots are protected.
And one of the questions I had is we're talking about all the partners that played a part in making this happen. Talk about how that collaborative effort is so much a part of what you guys do as a city, and what is it like kind of having to hear all those different ideas and kind of find a common ground?
Yeah, well, this is why we have a public arts committee. These are members of the public who sometimes are artists, sometimes they just are art lovers, but they are there to go through these processes, and we have to we budget money, and sometimes, in this case, they accumulated money in the public arts budget to do this one big project with such a key signature part of the city. And so they saved that money just for this park because it's so special, and our Cradle Country Music Park has a long and illustrious history, and so we're going to protect all that history and all the plaques, but reinvigorate it with a new piece of public art. So it's really important. I can't remember how many different meetings and charrettes and whatnot went into that. 40. Okay, 40 different meetings. Of course, the challenges that happened, several years ago, and so then sometimes people forget about those processes, and that's okay. Then you can re-examine them and update them as needed. And in this case, we discovered that we could keep almost all the trees and have the art, and that's a win-win.
And my second last question for you is, obviously, it was a little controversial about removing the trees, but now you're planning to add more. How does it feel for you as the mayor to have reached that type of conclusion?
Oh, it feels fantastic. I think we always do better when we listen to each other and when we find ways that everybody wins. And to me, people who love art or people who love trees, we're all really in the same planet here together and enjoying Knoxville and in the shade of these beautiful trees, and so glad they're going to be preserved.
Any other questions?
When did it come to your attention that you'd be able to preserve these trees? How did that come across so late?
Well, I think a few weeks ago we had a meeting with some members of the Sierra Club, and came to my attention because we were getting ready to do the foundations when we were getting ready to do that. And so a few weeks ago, and then I think it was on the agenda for City Council 2 weeks ago, but we didn't have the chance to hear from the artist community and others. So Council pushed it back 2 weeks, and then it's on the agenda tonight. So we had, during that 2 weeks, I had an opportunity to meet with members of the Design Center, members of the arts community, with our urban forester, and come up with a solution.
Do you have a timeline of when the piece is going to be installed here?
You know what's the more good news is we're a big city and we can do many things all at once. We can promote art and sustainability and protect trees and fight fires and respond to calls, medical emergencies. We do a lot of things, and I'm really proud of our work. Your question was, when did this, what is the timeline?
Yeah.
Well, we already have some construction people who've been pre-approved, so I think they're going to be working on the construction documents, and that'll come before council to approve the updated landscaping and the base plans. So.
Have the design changes changed the budget at all? Which they have to go after? There be additional costs to
No, I think if anything, we're hoping that it'll help us save some money or absorb inflation without having to change the budget. As you've seen, we follow budgets across the community these days that are being affected quite a bit by inflation. So we're hoping that this can keep us within the budget.
It looked like perhaps the landscape was expanding some a little into the parking lot here.
You see these four vehicles towards the edge of Day Street. That's going to be turned into grass. We'll lose, I think, a few parking spots, but gain a lot of more green space and places to plant more trees. So, and also it's a safety issue. We won't have people coming into this parking lot to have to come and go from Summit Hill rather than exiting and entering on Day Street. So it'll promote more pedestrian and other safety, allow people who are walking to this park to enjoy it without worrying about cars as much.
So you said this idea was conceptualized way before you were ever in office, and then it was actually approved and everything for COVID.
That's right.
During the COVID pandemic timeframe, how close was this to actually being dropped?
Well, we put a pause on a lot of things. Including this. And the winning artist is from New York City, and things really shut down there. And in fact, the engineer that normally does work with this artist died of COVID. And so, there are a lot of setbacks from the pandemic, from a personal sense and personal tragedy, and also the supply chain and people not coming to work. So that definitely slowed things down. And obviously, it wasn't a priority for me or my administration when we were dealing with the pandemic. So we put this and other projects on a pause.
Any other questions? I don't know if this is for you, Mayor, but what is the one tree that is going to be removed? Do you know which
Well,
one?
I like to talk about the dozens that are going to be saved.
Right.
But the one that is, would you say to be moved is this one?
Okay.
Right down there. Gotcha. So, and just as an interesting point of information, if you look back in 2007, the Cradle Country Music had no trees. So these trees were all planted by the city back in the housing administration, and that's building on our predecessors there at Cumberland Plateau. We are adding to our tree canopy. Casey Krause has done an inventory of all the trees on public lands, and now we have money in this budget it's for a tree canopy, not just a study, but an implementation strategy.
Yeah, urban forest master plan.
Urban forestry master plan, because two of the biggest risks of climate change in Knoxville are flooding, and trees help with that because they absorb water, and also heat. and the trees help with that because of shade. So we want to practice what we preach and plant new trees and protect the ones we have, and that's what today is. And we can do so while having great public art too.
All right, everybody.
All
good?
right.
Of course.
I'm gonna let Chris